All right, let's talk about how AI is breaking the current business model for many Microsoft partners and what we can do about it to succeed in the world of agentic AI. Now, this is based on a real conversation that is happening at all levels of the Microsoft partner ecosystem right now. Everybody from independent contractors to Microsoft partners to partner managers at Microsoft are thinking about how do we respond to this world of generative AI, because the very real fear that is being expressed at many Microsoft partners right now is that, frankly, they're starting to see AI as being bad for their business. I'm having these conversations with people every day because it enables them to deliver much faster than ever before. Now, you might wonder, why is this a bad thing? Well, because ultimately, when something that used to take me 8 hours now takes me 4 hours, it is starting to kill my revenue model, because when I bill by the hour, I can't bill 8 hours anymore. I need to bill 4, which means I either need to go find more work to do from my same customer or go find a new customer to make up for that shortfall of hours. So this is the fear, this is the concern, this is the conversation that is happening at all levels of the Microsoft partner ecosystem. And before we dive into the solution, we need to understand how we got here. So the model that Microsoft partners operate off of is the billable hours model. This comes from professional services, which we're part of. Think accountants, think lawyers, and professional services have billed hourly for their time since the beginning of professional services. And there's two reasons for that. The first reason is that's the way we've always done it. And the second reason, when we pull at that thread a little bit, is that we really haven't had a better way of quantifying or expressing the value that we create for our customers apart from an hourly rate. So if I do the thing and it takes an hour, I charge X. That's the model. Now, for most of human history, at least the human history where we've had professional services, this has worked reasonably well because tasks have been relatively time consuming. Whether you are a lawyer or an accountant or a functional or technical consultant, everything that we do is quite time consuming. And so sitting in workshops, writing design documents, updating Azure DevOps, writing code, all that stuff takes quite a bit of time. And so we've had a pretty good revenue model. And in order to grow, basically, you take on more tasks and hire more people. It's not the most scalable business model in the world, but it's worked. Now, this was all hunky-dory until the mid-2010s, when we started to see the first crack in the model with the advent of low-code. So in our universe, that was the Power Platform. And for the first time, end users could get hands-on and start doing things themselves. They didn't necessarily need to hire functional and technical consultants to do things. And so in the world of low-code, it made us faster, but it also started to chip away at how essential we were. In a world of pro-code, you need that business analyst and that functional consultant and that solution architect and that developer to go and do things. Whereas in a low-code world where I'm just interacting with a WYSIWYG, that starts to become a little less necessary. We democratized the skills, and customers started to ask, why am I hiring someone to do this? I can just configure things in a WYSIWYG myself. Now, it didn't drastically alter the business model for most partners, and so we ignored the signal. Everything mostly worked. Until November 2022, ChatGPT drops, and Agentic AI completely breaks this model of trading time for money, which we have pretty much used since the beginning. Because we live in a world now where AI can generate apps and code and data structures in Dataverse all from a prompt. And when you can do this from a prompt, you now have customers asking, why am I paying for this? I can enter a prompt myself. Why am I paying someone to go and do that on my behalf? And it's a good question. You see, in a world where we can use AI to speed delivery, we didn't just get faster, but we basically removed the reason to charge the way we've always charged, by the hour. And so we're now in this existential crisis of How do we quantify the value that we produce? But you see, the business model itself isn't necessarily the problem. If we dig a little deeper, the real problem is that we are still having the wrong conversation with the customer. You see, in the traditional world where we trade time for money, our conversations with customers are generally focused on the technical solution that we're going to provide and how long that will cost and how long that will take. And that basically determines the cost of the project, right? I need to put in dynamic sales and a portal, and so I think that's going to take 6 weeks, and it's going to take N resources times Y hourly rate times 6 weeks, and that gives you the cost of your project. And so this is how we've had these conversations with customers for most of time, and why SOW negotiations can become contentious, because we are having this time and materials type of discussion. The conversation we need to be having with customers, particularly now in this world of agentic AI, is not time for money, but how do we unlock business value? So when the customer is asking us, what is the cost? We need to be asking questions that help unlock the value of what they are actually asking us to do. When you ask us to put in Power Pages and Dynamic Sales and perhaps an agent in Copilot Studio, how is this helping you make money, save money, reduce risk? Let's start quantifying that, because that's the conversation we need to be having. So we need to stop having the tech and time and materials conversation, and we need to start having this higher value, business value driven conversation. Remember, the problem here is that we are still selling time, but the customer is buying an outcome. That's what they care about. They don't care that it's going to take 6 weeks. What they care about is, how does this help us make money, save money, reduce risk? And so in this new world, the role of the partner is starting to change. We are moving from a model where we do the work and we sell our delivery capacity into the customer to a world where we are enabling the customer. We are helping them design things the way they should work. That's really the value that we are going to bring in this world of agentic AI. The successful partner of the future is a guide, not a builder. Let me repeat that. In the future, the successful Microsoft partners will be guides for their customers along the way, not necessarily builders of the solution. So you might be sitting there asking, that's great, Nathan, but do Microsoft partners even still matter? Do we even need them? Why can't I just get hands-on myself if I'm a customer and start vibe coding and do my thing? Well, I would emphatically argue that in this world, partners still matter. In fact, we are probably even more relevant because customers need our help. They don't necessarily need us to build everything for them, but they need us to guide them along the way to help them avoid expensive mistakes. Just in this calendar year alone, I've worked with several customers who have had some very costly design flaws in their Power Platform setups, and it has created a lot of technical debt that has prohibited them from moving as fast as they want to, from doing some of the things that they want to, simply because they've got these complex setups that have not been well governed, where they've had a slew of partners come through, they've been doing things themselves, and they haven't had any unifying vision or any unified governance. And so as the partner, the highest value I can bring is starting to help you as a customer define these various things around security and road mapping and governance and your data and your applications and all of these things. This is the high value things that as a partner we bring to the table. This is far more than simply entering a prompt into an LLM to get these answers. This is where judgment and experience come into play, and this is incredibly valuable. As a partner, we don't just deliver the solution. We're here to ensure that you get it right the first time, and that's the real value, and that's why partners still matter in this world of agentic AI, albeit in a different capacity. All right, well, we're coming to the end. So if you take away just one thing from our time together, stop selling the tech, the time, the effort, how long it takes. This is a losing conversation. It is a race to the bottom in a world where someone or something, i.e. AI, can always do it faster and cheaper. You need to start focusing on the outcomes. What is the outcome that the customer wants? What is the business value that drives that outcome? How does it impact revenue, cost, risk? This is the conversation you need to be having in order to unlock these higher value conversations with your customers. Remember, if AI makes delivery cheap, then value becomes the only thing that matters. And you're going to get that by talking about business outcomes and business value. All right, what do you think? Drop a comment, let me know. In the meantime, go do something awesome on the Power Platform today, and I'll talk to you soon.